Welcome to the Jubilation podcast, where we try to spread positivity every day. This is now episode 8, and today we'll be talking about the religions of Juche and Jehovah's Witnesses. With me, Austin, covering Juche, and Cameron covering Jehovah's Witnesses. So to begin, we're going to be talking about what even is a religion. So I'm going to turn it over to Cameron, and he can give his opinion on what he believes a religion is.
In my opinion, I think a religion is a concept that includes a set of beliefs and social systems aligned with a person's religious group. It is the belief in a God and activities that correlate with that God, like praying or worshiping in a church or a sanctuary. So what I mean by this is if you believe in Jesus Christ, then of course you're going to go to a Christian church on Sundays and worship him there, reading a book like the Bible and praying and singing songs. Um, or like let's say, for example, you believe in Allah, then it would be completely different.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think a religion is just a system of beliefs and it's just worshiping a certain power. So for Juche, for example, they worship the Kim family and then they just have certain rituals that they do the same way that Christians do and Muslim or whatever your religion may be. So I think religion is just a way to that people decide to live their lives and it's contradictory to whatever that person wishes. So moving on, different religions have different symbology. So for Juche, I know that portraits is a big one. So it's seen in that religion to have portraits of the Kim family in your house. And you're kind of meant to worship these portraits. And that's one way. There's also the Juche Tower. People go there to worship all the time, and it's seen as just a place to worship and be grateful for the leadership of the Kim family. And then there's something called the Red Star, and it's a symbol of reliance to the nation. And it's really just pushing like their belief in North Korea and to the Kim family. So that's who they praise and that's who they worship. So what about Cameron? What about your religion?
So the main symbol of the Jehovah Witnesses is a watchtower. So again, relating back to the tower you were talking about, the watchtower is like it's not an actual tower, so it's used for identification and to indicate being watchful of God's acts every day. So in general, the Jehovah Witnesses avoid using religious symbols such as the cross of Jesus Christ or images of saints because they don't align with them and they align with their own symbols. And they do not like just in general the reason why they only have one symbol is because they don't like to worship them and they avoid idolatry at all costs. Also, they believe that Jesus died on a stake instead of a cross and that they can have a personal relationship with God. So, in that way, like it's a lot different than a Christian perspective. And in their religion, their God is Jehovah. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Um,
Um, let's see. We can go to history. Like,
yeah, history.
what's the history of Jehovah's Witnesses? How did that kind of come about?
So the history of Jehovah Witnesses is, it first emerged in the United States in 1870 as a part of a movement called the Bible Study Student Movement. And, there wasn't really much information on the history, so I can just also move on to the divine leader.
Yeah.
So the leader who actually led this movement was Charles Taze Russell, and he believed in the end of the world. So eventually his belief in the end of the world eventually spread through the Jehovah Witnesses group and caused many people to believe the same thing. So now people that worship that are in like the Jehovah Witnesses religion, they believe in the end of the world. And Charles never believed in any other gods except for Jehovah. So to him, that was the man above and the ruler of the world.
Okay. For Juche, it was developed by Kim Sung. So he was the first leader of North Korea. This took place during the 1950s, and it was a way to show the nation's independence. They do this to kind of show just the independence and strength of North Korea. And then over time, it became more political and allowed the authority of Kim Sung and his successors to gain greater power. The teachings of Juche are outlined by Kim Sung's speeches and writings, with the focus being the importance of the leader as what he likes to be called as the great leader and the guiding force for the nation's survival. So yeah, and then divine or human teacher. Juche does not have a teacher like a god, but Kim Sung is seen as the eternal president and the ultimate guide. So he is treated super highly, and he's a regarded figure, often referred to in terms that highlight the nation's belief in leadership, wisdom, and the pursuit of his essential role in the survival of the nation. And yeah, so they basically just worship Kim Sung and his family as well.
Yeah.
So moving on to philosophy. So what was like the purpose of Shafea's witnesses?
So the purpose was that they believe that when a person dies, their existence stops, and they are not sent to a place like heaven.
Mm,
So they pretty much think that death is the opposite of life, meaning that the dead do not see or think while the living do see and think.
hmm
And also relating back to my first point, when someone dies, they believe that not even one part of that person's body survives, and their soul is completely erased. So they think like that person is completely gone from this world, gone from this existence,
Okay.
like they're just finished. So um, yeah,
Yeah, I think
um,
I think Juche is the death aspect is similar. Like they see it as death as just part of a circle, like the circle of life. However, for the leader, like if one of the Kims die, then like that's seen more as like a real death of like legacy. So they kind of like really value more so the higher power than they do like each person. And
yeah,
then in terms of purpose, humans are viewed as the driving force of their own destiny. They're capable of achieving their goals if they remain true to the principles, which they believe is self-resilience and dedication. And then the loyalty to the state is central to human purpose. That's kind of their purpose. And then the individuals are expected to serve and work towards the prosperity of the state. So it's all about serving the Kim family and the state in North Korea. And then in terms of life, the main focus is the well-being of the nation and everyone contributing towards it. There's an emphasis on economic and social progress to achieve greater strength within the nation. So that's kind of their philosophy of life for Juche in North Korea.
yeah.
How about a sacred book? Does Jehovah's Witnesses have a sacred book?
Yes, they do in fact. So their sacred book is the Bible actually, because they believe that the Bible is 100% truthful and that the Word of God is accurate. So in that sense, they do relate to the Christian religion.
Hmm.
And when it comes to the Bible, they interpret a lot of it, but also accept that it contains some symbolism. And they also base all their beliefs and actions on the Bible. So they live their lives upon the Bible. Also, they believe that the Bible is the main way that God communicates His word with humans, test any religious teaching that they see that is against the Bible. So if they were to see somebody acting in ways that the Bible, like acting in bad ways that the Bible doesn't describe,
Hmm.
then they would step in and they would speak.
Would there be any like repercussions to like people not following the rules of the Bible?
Yeah, I think so. I think they would get angry and they would have a conversation with that person and speak their truth.
Yeah,
But yeah, like that would be their own opinion. But at the end of the day, like people do what they want. So yeah,
right. So for Juche, they do not have a sacred book. However, they have like texts from Kim Sung that they like live by. So these writings are in like school, they're used by the government and promoted in everyday life. So, for example, like if there's a big speech going on in North Korea and it's with the Juche religion, they'll like use these speeches and writings to articulate the principles of Juche, and then yeah, these texts are used to reinforce the ideology and solidify the leader's authority. So it's more of used as like a power more than it is like something sacred. So,
yeah.
how about How is your religion practiced in an everyday life for somebody that follows it?
Yeah. So this is actually our last point. The way their practices are unique than other, oh, never mind, my bad. So Jehovah Witnesses practice their faith by attending meetings at places called kingdom halls. These are similar to churches in a Christian worldview. At kingdom halls, Jehovah Witnesses study the Bible using Watchtower publications and do not celebrate Christmas and Easter on the correct days.
Mm,
Also, they do door-to-door evangelism, which is going to people's houses to talk to them about their faith and how they should join the religion. Furthermore, they do not participate in politics and refuse blood transfusions based on what they think about the Bible. So again, relating back to that point, like they really like the way they live their lives is um what is written in the Bible.
right. So for Juche, it's seen as everyday life in North Korea. So, for example, in schools or education, it's taught at a young age in schools, and it is in subjects such as science, history, and cultural subjects. And then reference for the leader. So this could be like citizens are to show respect to the portraits. Citizens are expected to bow before these portraits or statues, so they're kind of showing their belief within the leaders. The state shows control, like the government controls Juche through media, public statements, and art even. So it's pretty powerful. And then there's even public ceremonies such as the gatherings. And then, as we touched on earlier, the symbols and monuments that are visited by the public, those can also be like gatherings. And then Cameron got confused. We have one more question. It's explain how their practices are used to their denominations, but this one is only for the Christian-based religion, which, as you could tell, is what Cameron is covering. So I'll let Cameron do that, and then we'll end off there.
Yes, so here's the clear up the confusion. So the way their practices are unique than other Christian denominations is through evangelism, blood transfusions, and distributing readings like the Watchtower. So first, they are the only denomination who goes door to door to people's homes trying to promote their religion, portraying the need to enforce a religion on others for them to join. Second, they say no to blood transfusions when Christians say yes to them. And third, every time they meet in their kingdom halls, they distribute readings of their symbol, the Watchtower, and worship it when no other Christian denomination does that.
Okay. Very good. I think we got to what most of what we wanted to do was. So thank you guys for tuning into today's episode. And we hope you enjoyed learning about our two religions that we covered. So see you guys in the next podcast.
See you next time.